So Speak No Evil is a brand new 2022 film that was released on Shudder, and it was directed by, I'm going to try and pronounce it, Christian Tafdrup. I'm just going by the spelling. But this is a Danish film, however it is spoken in Danish as well as Dutch and English. And this is a film that is currently being talked about a lot in the horror community and the film community, and that got my interest alone. And from what I've been hearing about it in spoiler-free talk, it definitely got me intrigued in the film. Now, this one currently is a mixed bag of opinions, and a lot of people actually more so are not liking it than the reviews that I hear about it being good and people enjoying it. And a lot of people were saying that this film is like severely unrealistic by its plots and its choices and its ending and all kinds of stuff, which, you know, when a film gets a lot of negative reviews, it actually just intrigues me to watch it even more. So sometimes I watch it and I'm like, oh shit, yep, I know exactly what everybody was talking about. And other times I'll watch the film and I'm like, actually, I kind of got that a lot. And this one seems to be the latter. It seems to be that one. I had a good time with the film, but I totally understand where everybody is coming from with their criticisms and what everybody has been saying about this film. Now, obviously, I'm going to keep this spoiler-free for anybody who hasn't watched it, so I'm not going to be really revealing anything at all. But going through just the basic plot synopsis, the really basic. Basically, like I said, this is a European film. This is a Danish film, I'm pretty sure. But it revolves around this couple who is vacationing in Italy, and they're kind of doing a group tour of some sorts, so they're meeting other people. It shows them going through, you know, touring Italy, having dinner with strangers, all this kind of stuff. There's a scene where they're having dinner amongst like 50 or 60 other people, so I think they're in some kind of like couples vacationing together and meeting each other, some kind of group, a group trip with strangers of some kind. I don't know exactly what they call it. Or maybe they just went alone and started to socialize with a bunch of people, but they have a daughter, and they, during this trip, get to meet another couple with a son of their own. And they start mingling, and then this couple that's from Holland is very friendly towards them, and they, you know, have a bit of banter back and forth during the vacation. They have lunch together. They go their separate ways, and a few months later, this Danish couple is invited to this Dutch couple's house in Amsterdam, and they basically just welcome them to their home if they want, and welcome them, you know, as visitors, since they got along in Italy and during their trip. So basically they decide to say yes, and they go to Amsterdam to this couple's home, and they begin to have some awkward experiences, and things start to escalate in that elevated horror sort of style, which I know, again, just that term alone is gonna scare some people away, and you're like, oh, I fucking hate that term, yada yada yada. But it starts to go in a very uncomfortable direction, to say the least, and shit starts to get real fast. Now, there's a couple big points that I want to drive home about this film, because it seems to have a couple themes that I noticed. One really big thing that I definitely want to talk about is, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older and more, I'm not going to say the word sensitive, it's the wrong word, but more prone to feeling anxiety with movies. I don't know if it's an age thing, or if legitimately movies that are coming out post Hereditary and post Babadook and post The Witch are just being designed by nature and by their themes to be more anxiety driven, because this film, amongst like 10 that's come out in the last 1 to 2 years, basically feel like a panic attack while watching them. It's like a visual panic attack. It just gives me, in this pit of my stomach, this dreadful feeling of anxiety, and it brings me into the characters and what the characters must be feeling in the situation that they're going through. And albeit the characters making decisions that I would never make, and this is a big reason why I can understand why people hated this movie, the decision making and things that happen where like I'm watching and it's like, why don't you react like this? Why are you reacting like this? How come you're not handling this situation like this? How come you're handling this situation like this? But at the same time, I can also put myself in the mood that they're feeling, not for what decision they make. I'm kind of trying to explain myself the best I can, but how they're feeling. Like when they're anxious, I can feel that sense of dread and panic that they are, especially having to, take care of a child while they're there and everything. And this huge claustrophobic sense, like there's no place of escape. It's the type of movie that is so psychologically scary and psychologically disturbing and unsettling and claustrophobic, like I said, and just eerie and hard to watch in that sense. It's like just, I don't know, I find modern horror to be so nerve inducing for every fiber of my body, and it seems like that's the new theme and that's the new type of horror. Like I remember when horror movies were about like monsters and supernatural shit, like Freddy and Jason and Scream, and like things that sometimes could happen in real life, but you usually have that barrier where it's like you can tell this is just a movie and you're like, "Oh, I can go to bed just fine." At least I could. Maybe some people got terrified of Freddy and Jason and weren't able to sleep, but it seems like the movies that come out these days are so grounded and realistic. And being somebody who, of course, has dealt with lots of anxiety throughout my life, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, I find horror, modern horror, I should say, deals with everyday circumstances of panic and anxiety and elevates them to a T and to its core. And I think I see that as a modern theme for horror. Like I said, I'm starting to repeat myself, but I see it a lot more present in modern cinema. And the other thing that I think that this film touches on is everything, again, 2020 plus, that's, all about wokeness and all about feminism and toxic masculinity, and you got to stay woke, and political correctness and stuff like that, division and liberals versus conservative, and all that stuff. There's a lot of talk relating to that about like, masculinity going away and men becoming pussies and men not being able to stick up for themselves and men having no more balls anymore and women wear the pants and men are pussies these days. The whole, trans movement and stuff like that. And that political part of society is very present recently. And when it comes to specifically men not being men anymore, I think possibly that this film is trying to touch somewhere along those lines. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like a little bit of a satirical slash horror take on that circumstance. Other than that, I really don't know what else, especially the last 10 to 20 minutes of this film, would be trying to say, because other than that, I see no point. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but the male protagonist in this film kind of doesn't do much to protect his family in the least, and he's very sensitive and weak-willed, like a pushover, you could say. And it seems a lot of times that his wife is actually doing more to not just protect the family, but to stick up for herself and her husband and her child and everything. And most of the times when whenever there's somebody fighting for the family and fighting back towards the evil and the attacks that are coming towards them, it's the woman, not the man. And even though both of them, there's a ton of situations in this film where neither of them do what they should be doing to protect themselves, and a lot of the decision making, like I said, is very questionable into what this couple decides to do and decides to react towards certain circumstances. When I say things escalate and start to get really fucked up, I mean, yeah, they do real fast, and there's moments where it's like, okay, enough is enough. They should be out as fast as they possibly can. And those are the moments where where, like I was describing, they get so intense and nerve wracking. It's like watching a visual panic attack and feeling the panic throughout the entire thing. It's nuts. With that being said, though, there are also circumstances in the film, like, without getting into super amount of detail, there's one scene in particular where this protagonist couple finally get the opportunity to get away with their daughter. And then the daughter realizes that her little stuffed bunny is missing. So the dad takes it into himself to go back to the house and get this bunny because she's crying and hysterical and everything. And they go, and he gets out of the car to go back in the house to find this thing, this toy. And then she's like, oh, I found it, and it's under the car seat. And it's like, oh, fuck, you're just as an audience, you're like, oh, shit. And then the mom, she's like, oh, brother, and then she goes out of the car herself to go track down the dad and let him know that, you know, the bunny's been found. And when she gets inside, she notices the husband is now spotted by the antagonist couple, and they're having an awkward conversation, an awkward circumstance, because they just pieced out without telling the couple that they were leaving, and it just gets really awkward from there. Now, the husband didn't know that the daughter found the bunny, only the mom knows, and they're having this situation where the husband has no idea what to say, and in my head, I'm just like, make any excuse. Say somebody died in the family, you have to get the hell out of there. Like, make any excuse in the book. You don't usually use a death in the family as a white lie, but in this circumstance, it's excusable. Just say whatever you need to say to get out of there. But of course, shit just keeps escalating from there, as we all know. But there are circumstances in the movie where I don't blame the protagonists, and they do land themselves into sticky situations accidentally where I can't put full blame on them either. For anybody who's ever seen the movie The Strangers, there's a little bit of an element towards the climax that definitely, I don't know if it's directly inspired from The Strangers, but it's obvious to anybody who has ever seen The Strangers. You'll recognize it right away what goes on, that you'll make the connection to The Strangers. The title also, Speak No Evil, definitely ties into a lot of, you know, everything that's going on. So the title will make sense once you watch the film. Another thing is there's definitely a motive with the evil couple, I will say. They have a target. I'm not going to say what that target is, but they certainly have one, and it's revealed by the end that they have a motive on what they want and who they go after and stuff like that. And they are a villainous, evil, and they're a dangerous presence, but but they're so everyday. Like they're not. There's nothing about them that is like, they're not strong. They don't. They're not part of a cult. I mean, there is a situation where they get a little bit of help from somebody else that kind of comes out of nowhere, but all in all, it's really just them two, the evil husband and the evil wife, and they're not like intimidating. They're everyday folk, is what I'm trying to get at. They're everyday vacationers, like they were at the beginning of the film in Italy, and they start to get more and more unhinged, and then they start to really let it loose. And like I said, I don't want to say, there's a specific line mentioned at the end and said at the end that really emphasizes everything that's going on and drives home the point of the movie. And like I said, to me, I think that that point of the movie is that a lot of people are just too afraid to speak up and voice their opinions or stick up for themselves, or society in general. I'll say both men and women are too afraid to, they're losing their balls, quote unquote. They're losing their ability to make a stand on protecting themselves, where it's so easy for this seemingly average couple to completely take advantage of them. And we've all been there, where we've seen somebody be taken advantage of and witnessed somebody abuse their power to bully somebody. We've seen this all over the place. We see it in schools, freaking workplace, Hollywood, everywhere. But this movie takes it to the horror sense, and how far can this couple torment this other couple casually, and kind of like make it seem like their behavior is normal, like not just full force attacking them with weapons or anything like that, but psychologically weakening them baby step by baby step by baby step until this protagonist innocent couple is just merely at the palm of this evil couple's hands and just completely being taken advantage of. It's a powerful statement. And again, a lot of people are going to be watching this movie and thinking, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Why are they acting like such pussies? Why aren't they sticking up for themselves? But I see the film as so eerie, and what I'm trying to debate about this film is how much can I believe it? Like, can I believe that this could happen? Yes, I do. Do I think the film is trying to make more of a satirical statement, though? Yes, I also do think that. Is this a common occurrence? Probably not. But can it get there in the future? Yes. It's definitely making a lot of statements to the current way of society and the current battles and political views that people are constantly bickering at each other for. And like I said, I think there is, I said it already a couple minutes ago, I think it's both men and women, but I certainly think there is a lack of masculinity and a misunderstanding of, for lack of a better term, gender roles. And I don't mean that in a sense that, men have to be manly and women have to be womanly. I don't mean that. That's not my point. I'm just saying there's like an element missing a lot of times when it comes to sticking up for yourself and sticking up for your family that I think is missing in a lot of people, unfortunately, these days. And I think the movie is trying to say that progressively it's getting worse and worse and worse, and doing the right thing is more common than not a thing anymore. This movie definitely had a big impact on me and made me think a lot, as you can tell. And I wanted to start reviewing this movie as soon as I finished it, because I had so much on my mind, and then I wanted to turn on the camera and kind of pack my ideas together, but clearly I'm not able to put entire thoughts clearly, so hopefully you guys are understanding everything I mean by what I got from this movie. The murder scene, that's all I will say, is interesting and definitely a twisted direction, and it's a very, very sad ending, and it's an unfortunate ending. It makes you hate the characters even more. Not the evil ones, you already hate them, but it makes you hate the protagonists who should have been doing way fucking more, let alone getting the fuck out of their way earlier and when they should have. There's a lot to be said. So, I mean, that's all I can say in this spoiler-free review without, to dissect the story, I would just be spoiling everything, and this is a fairly new movie that I think a lot of people should check out and judge for themselves and make their own decisions on it themselves. So I want to keep this one spoiler free. Maybe I'll go into spoilers another time as more people start watching this, but I'll just leave it at that for now. I found this film extremely interesting and very disturbing, and like I said, it's a panic attack in the movie, so know that going in. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming up, and until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.